Hey guys, Ben Labadie here, and I'm with Mayor Randy Hope. And Randy, thanks for coming on, man.
Not a problem, man.
Sitting in the hot seat. I have a ton of questions lined up for Randy here, so I'm going to be asking a lot of questions. And as always, feel free to comment, ask questions, share ideas, and hit that share button below. So you're up for re-election. Are you the longest sitting mayor of Chatham-Kent?
Yes.
Like that's 3 terms, right?
Three
For a
terms,
fourth.
12 years.
Who's been close to that? Anybody been close to that?
No.
Okay. So, and what made you want to kind of run again?
Well, Ben, you know, there's a lot of things that still need to be done. I mean, when I look at what happened in the economy, you know, when I started in 2006, I mean, the major topic then was about the amalgamation of the communities. You know, and you know, I had a plan that we were going to try to do some stuff, put some stuff in place. And then, you know, when you get into office, you realize, you know, we got $164 million in debt. You know, the unemployment started to peak itself. It started moving up. And you're sitting there and looking at, you know, plant closures and a number of other things. So your plans have to adjust to what's going on with the economy. But, you know, over the 12 years, I'd set a plan out, but those obstacles had really caused a lot of grief. And how do we manage? How do we get through them? You know, when you deal with a high debt level, you know that you can't be spending a lot of money. You've got to find ways of doing things, fixing roads, doing sewers, doing all that stuff that you need to do in infrastructure at the same time without borrowing.
Right.
So, you know, one thing about it is been nice over the 12 years is that, you know, we started with $164 million in debt. And by the time, by the end of this year, we should be about 75 million. So 86.4 right now is in December.
Wow.
And by the end of this year, we should be about $75 million in debt. That's
And
combined.
what were we at?
We're at 164 million.
And was that done over 12 years, 4 years, or like?
It was done in the last, I would say, about 8 years. We've been able to put a strategy in place since 2010 and make sure that we've gotten it down to where we should be today. So reducing that kind of debt, you know, the other significant part is we had a high unemployment rate, and now we're down to historical levels of unemployment rate, and still have a lot of jobs here. I mean, over 650 vacancies available. You know, it's sad when you drive by and you see a company has a billboard out in front of their posting the job. So out of the 12 years, I mean, would I have wanted it to be in better economic conditions? Absolutely. We've been able to achieve a lot more. But we've had to refine the plan and make sure that we're bringing out things when we can and when we can afford to.
Right.
You know, today we're spending over $50 to $60 million each year fixing roads and bridges and stuff like that we're doing. And we're not having to borrow a dime. So we are paying as we go, and that's the important part. But there's going to be some things we're going to have to work a little differently.
Right. Awesome stuff. Hey guys, I'm having a tough time seeing everything here, but I see it. Hey Matt, hey Jonathan, Jeff. Hey guys, please hit the share button. Hey Joy. So let's see here. What has been your greatest success? So I mean, 12 years. What can you look back on and say, man, I did. You know, we did that as a community. That's great that you're proud of, and thought it was a very big success.
The biggest thing is getting our debt level under control.
Okay.
I mean, let's face it. I mean, you cannot run an operations. You know, it's the biggest municipality in Chatham-Kent and have a huge debt level.
Right.
You know, so that is a major success. I mean, today it's a success that I look at it, and I remember driving down the streets of Wallaceburg and all those empty factories and everything else. Today they all have employers inside of them providing gainful employment opportunities. I look at a number of other communities, and you know, it's great to see that we turned that corner and now we're progressively moving forward. Right. Is there more to be done? Absolutely. There's always more to be done. But you know, when you look at it, you know, is there one thing you can actually call success? And there isn't, because everything is interrelated. You know, setting up community councils in some of the communities that didn't have them, getting them going, making them feel a part of government, because that was part of the amalgamations everybody wanted to be a part of.
Yeah. The
municipality, and it's just not just the city of Chatham. It had to be everybody engaged.
Right.
And over the last 12 years, we've been able to engage and get input from people.
Good stuff. Okay, so let's move on here a little bit. Let's talk about China. So one thing when it comes to election time, you got people throwing China out there, China, China, China. How much does it cost? People think it's $1 billion that we're spending on you know, just you going to China. What can you tell us about the cost of China? What happened? You know, what have we got out of that? And is there a return that people may not know? Okay.
So basically, you're looking at it being in between $10,000 and $12,000 a year
Okay.
in cost.
Over
Over
12 years?
Well, over, I would say, since about 2010,
Okay.
11, when the economy started, we were trying to attract more businesses here. So you're looking at about $10,000 to $12,000
a year.
a year.
Okay.
And that's what it costs. You know, you're asking the benefits. I mean, the benefits have been, we've been able to link companies. I mean, I have a company in Wheatley that actually provides foods overseas.
Okay.
So remember, we have one of the largest commercial fishing industries.
Right.
Is in Wheatley, okay? And, you know, we're exporting over there. We export soybeans, we export corn, we actually export a lot of agricultural products over there today. We've created, you know, when I look at Arkel Industries, Arkel Tool and Die in Lewisburg, they do a lot of business in China. You look at Lambton Conveyor does a lot of business in China. And that's fostered relationships that have created the amenity for us to export product there.
Okay.
As we still try to attract some of those businesses to our community, you know, we have to compete with the Americans for
Yep.
jobs, and they're in the investments that the Chinese are making. We're trying to attract that investment here, trying to make them understand, because most foreigners only understand Toronto,
Right.
Vancouver, Montreal, and there's a place called Chatham-Kent, and they really can't put that in perspective as to where it is in the 25 million people that are available in the marketplace in
Right.
our area. I mean, they deal with things much bigger. So on a per capita or return on the investment, I mean, we've done significantly well. Could we do more? Absolutely. I'm still trying to.
Do we have a number? Do we have a certain number that you can kind of throw out there as a return?
As a definite return, no, because it talks about job sustainability, it talks about tool and die industry, it talks about, you know, the agricultural business. I mean, it might to calculate each one of those and say what was relevant to each. What it did is continue to foster relationship, continue to build the opportunity and momentum that we've created an identity in our community that want to do business with us
Right.
and look at future investment opportunity with us. Nothing ever happens overnight. It's about, their culture is about relationships.
Okay.
Same thing with Germany, same thing with India, same thing with Korea, same thing with the Japanese. You know, we have Mitsubishi here, which is a Japanese company.
Right.
Fostering those relationships gets those companies to look at further investments in our community.
Do you think we'll see more returns in the future based on what has been done already?
The foundation has been laid.
Okay.
I mean, it's about trust. It's about everybody's telling the great stories about all their communities.
Yeah.
But it's about the interaction and relationships that are there. We do a lot of communication on a frequent basis through WeChat or WhatsApp and other technologies, even in Skyping.
Right.
But, you know, it's also about sitting down. It's also when you're going to buy something yourself. You like to look at the product you're buying. You want to talk to the person
Right.
face to face. You want to get a better comfort sense of who are you actually dealing with. So I'm confident that the investments will still come. You know, there's issues happening in the U.S., there's issues happening in China
Yep.
with the anti-corruption. Once all that kind of filters down, it's okay, and then we'll be able to move forward. Plus, we're working with the federal government on the provincial nominee program, which
Right.
is an incentive, but also citizenship issues that we need to deal with.
Cool. Okay, let's get interactive here with some people. For some reason, I got a new phone, and the wave thing keeps coming up. We have a shortage of houses for sale and houses for rent. Why would you ever suggest bringing refugees here? I think that's.
Well,
You
I
want
don't
to tackle that
mind-
one?
I don't mind addressing that. You know, there is a housing shortage, security income housing. There is.
Right.
I mean, I remember back in my labor days when I was part of the labor cooperative that brought social housing in place with geared market rents and geared income were a part of it. Our federal governments have let us down on that. I mean, they've created the issue that we have today. The Canadian Canada Housing and Mortgage Corporation has created the issue. You know, we need to make sure that we're replenishing a market. Remember before, houses weren't selling.
Right.
The real estate companies were all up in arms because there wasn't much
Yep.
moving. Landlords were upset because they had a lot of vacancies, and now it's the reverse. Success always breeds a different avenue.
Yep.
So our goal is to continue to work with the federal government. That's why I said with FCM and the housing, social housing
Right.
side of it. That's why I said with the AMO, which is our provincial organization, to talk about social housing, because we do identify there is shortages. You know, and when it comes to new housing and new housing markets, it's about how do you move the stock around. Somebody wanting to upgrade, we got to make sure. So today, I mean, our own contractors are having a hard enough time finding enough builders to build homes,
Right.
and they can't keep up to it. So we're expanding subdivision left and right. But When it comes to the issue of social housing and affordable housing, it's absolutely right. But this isn't something that just happened. This has been going on for a long time, the social housing fight.
Right.
That municipalities are sitting there saying, you have a responsibility, federal and provincial government, you need to be a player in what we are. So if you look at it, we are building some just right here across from Sears.
Yep.
There is some geared income housing. You've seen some other units built on Queen Street here. You've seen a new housing initiative built in Richtown. So we are doing our part. Are we keeping up? There is a waiting list, and I know that.
Yep.
But we need federal and provincial support in order to keep those moving.
Okay. Good stuff here, and we're going to move on to one from Jonathan North I just seen pop up. Is, do you support a ball hockey court? People have they got a big ball hockey or road hockey kind of league going, and would you support that? How would they go about that, basically on their own and getting support from the municipality? Maybe would be a better way to do it. It's an outdoor rink.
Well,
That's not a rink.
It's an outdoor rink, but it's not a rink, and I agree with ball hockey. I remember when I grew up, we played on the streets,
Yeah.
and then we played ball hockey. So, Ben, I know later on, this is one of the initiatives that I'm trying to move forward is a new arena.
Okay.
And everybody says that, well, I have a 75-year-old arena, and then I have a 50-year-old one. The bones of the north side is still good. It's the refrigeration that's not the greatest, okay? And by building a new one, okay, so let's build a new one, I'll just set that off to the side. Now let's talk about the north side arenas. What other alternative uses can that be? You want to talk about ball hockey. What do we currently do? They play ball hockey there today. So it can be a year-round event opportunity. We can play pickleball because, pickleball is a big thing.
Pickleball is a big thing.
It's a big thing.
I did not know that until
and people
last
are
year.
really getting into the
Yeah.
pickleball. So those low-cost sports can be housed in that facility. I remember we used to have it in McHugh's Park. We used to have the outdoor rink, and that's where a lot of things. So we need to find alternatives that are low cost, cost effective in order to make those pickleballs. I guess there's another little tennis thing going on. Tennis, I forget what it's called. They're playing it in Florida now, and a lot of the people are coming back, and I don't know the name exactly.
I think they play it at the Y in the morning. I see people playing the massive rackets.
But it's becoming a big thing, and what we got to do is we've got to create an area where a lot of those low cost, low maintenance, just the simple things can accommodate those who want to play different active sports.
Right.
Because the goal is to keep kids active. A lot of parents are tied with their incomes, and we've got to find ways to engage more youth and more older people to integrate, to play, but it doesn't prohibit them by cost.
Yeah. Good. So how are we going to pay for a sports complex, a new arena? How would we go about doing that?
Ben, for a couple of years now I've been talking about it, and it's been on the Navistar property. That's my first, everybody says why there, because it makes sense.
Yep.
Okay? Building a new arena there, a new complex, sports complex there, along with a train station, because everybody who utilizes a train will understand what I'm saying.
Right.
We need a new train station. It creates a better gateway into our community, a better, nicer thing. But the thing is, if you look at the 86 acres of land, okay, and you're looking at about a $1.7 million annual cost in order to build it and operate it, okay? If you create that in the back section of it, who wouldn't want to create in the front section of it? So you're going to create new assessment that'll help offset the cost, the annual cost. Will you have to borrow the money? Definitely. But it's about partnerships. It's about working with the federal, working with the provincial, working at rehabilitating some land that's key in our city. It's in the heart of Chatham, and we need to revitalize that land. Across the street, you're going to have the casino, and 200 jobs there. You put the arena with entertainment and opportunities. You put some other auxiliary services, maybe like a hotel, maybe a few restaurants, maybe a few other stores.
Right.
What you're doing is stopping the traffic from always going to the north side and creating congestion, and actually balancing the city out with other opportunities on both sides.
Absolutely. I can't really see who's commenting, but somebody just asked, any future plans to improve long-term care?
Well, long-term care is a provincial mandate and responsibility, and yes, we have our own facility here. There is a thing called a minimum care standard, and that's how they govern how much money you get and everything else.
Right.
I always believe that, the people who work in those homes, nursing homes, and homes for the aged, do a fantastic job. It takes a very special person to do that. You know, right now we already provide about 4.2, 4.3 million towards subsidizing the long-term care facility we got. But you know, you got to balance with everything else that everybody's asking, and then everybody's telling me to keep the taxes down.
Right.
We're trying to make sure that we're going beyond this minimum standard. We're trying to make sure that people have dignity, but it's a balancing act. There's no open check. What we're counting on is the provincial government to reevaluate and the federal government to reevaluate this long-term care and healthcare dollars that are being transferred from the feds to the province to us, is that they got to be done different. And that's just not only our own. That's those in the private sector and other sectors, because are they going to get into the heavier care patients, or are the heavier care patients going to become a responsibility in the home that the municipality runs? So you want to make sure that people aren't just moved because of the level of care they need. You want to make sure that all those homes that receive money from the government are receiving it in a balanced approach, so it's not a matter of who's moving where and what.
Awesome. Hey guys, keep them coming here. Let's see here. Do you think Chatham-Kent should purchase the old courthouse? And
No.
No, straight up. What they want, for $1 million or something?
Sometimes old buildings are nice, but sometimes they can be, you know, and the courthouse, this is again priorities of what are we going to do. I mean, we have to be very careful. I said no because it's the province's responsibility, and I really don't want to take that on. And I think if somebody else comes to the table, private sector, whatever, and can make something of it, that's great for them. But from a municipal point of view, we have enough buildings in Chatham-Kent that the municipality is responsible for.
Right.
Adding that burden cost isn't doing us any justice.
Okay. Let's see here. I think my question disappeared. Please ask why we have a new vehicle for the Chatham-Kent Police Services that will likely be parked on the Dillon, because I don't think they can park it downtown.
Right. So the thing is, we got a new command post, and the new command post is needed not only for police services, but everything else. You know, it's fire, EMS, emergency situations. Right. We had the flooding that went on. One thing, and also with the municipality where it is close proximity to the river, if that ever broke, the dike ever broke,
right,
we get flooded out too. So the command post is a multi-service. Yes, it has the CK police on it, but it's a multi-service facility.
Right.
You know, when we get missing persons and our drones out there and we got to set up a system, did anybody see the old one? Mm-hmm. The old one was an old fifth wheel that probably you wouldn't even camp in that, okay? So what it is bringing us up to the times, but now also expanding it because technology is so important. Efficiencies are so important. The telescopics lenses that are on there is so efficient. The workstations with computers and everything else. This is something, and then people say, well, my taxes went up. This was initiated through our business plan, and it is also by the savings that we created. So we went through our organization's police services, we found savings. Those savings were reapplied to capital one-time expenditures. So during the years, this isn't all of a sudden money appeared.
Right.
This was savings that we had applied, savings we had found to make sure we can make these capital one-time expenditures. You didn't see in the budget request a new police vehicle. What you seen was the police budget dealing with our costs and actually below inflation. And at the same time, we've been making strategic investments and strategic cuts and cleaning up our departments so that way we are finding savings. So those one-time savings can be applied to capital purchases like this.
Good stuff. Hey guys, we are here live at the Dutch Market here in Chatham, and I'm talking with current Mayor Randy Hope, and he is running for re-election. And now we're going to move on to turbines. It's a hot topic. We got a bunch of them. What do turbines bring the community as far as cash? And at the same time, we also have wells in areas of Chatham-Kent that are going bad. Do you believe that there is a link between turbines and those wells that go bad? And what can we do about people that have wells that are going bad? And what can we do about what's going on with the turbines? So well, a lot of stuff at one time.
So let's talk about the wind industry, okay? And the wind industry is about renewable energy. Whether it's wind, solar, or biogas initiatives, it's about an alternative source. It's about a cleaner source.
Right.
Because, you know, let's face it, you know, breathing some of the air, the acid rain and everything else is about depleting the cold system out of Ontario.
Okay.
And the thing is, you know, a lot of children and people suffer asthma, so, you know, we want to play our part. It was a direction of council that we would support the wind industry coming to our community. First project was Kruger.
Okay.
We set it up. So a lot of the projects occurred on the south side of the 401. You know, and council's always been in support of it. At first, it was something that we could handle under our planning, and then the provincial government introduced the Green Energy Act. They took over all the responsibilities. They just, you know, left us nothing. Like, we had no authorities. The authorities were there.
Right.
So, you know, with the industry that we're producing, the energy that we're producing, we're contributing to greenhouse emissions reductions. And, you know, the other part is we are receiving millions because each one of those turbines for the acre of land is assessed at an industrial rate, and we get the taxes there. Plus we've been able to put into place community benefit programs.
Right.
And, you know, and with the recent one with the North Kent project, we actually become a minority situation in that. So I find, you know, and council made the decision, and it's actually when we were talking, when we negotiated the monies that we would get from North Kent for the initial part of it. I mean, I was getting councillors that wanted to spend that $6 million like it was still tomorrow, and I went, whoa, hold on, guys. So the thing is, your question is around, does the turbines affect the well waters?
Yes.
And the key is that I don't really know for 100% sure, because I have a...
Do you think there's a link?
But it's not what I think. It's all based, it has to be based on scientific, because I think a lot of things, and trust me, it's okay. But the thing is that the provincial government is responsible for doing the environmental scans and those things that may cause harm.
Right.
Then you have a group that says it's causing harm, but the information and data is not being shared. What council did was council actually put money out to say, okay, if you want to get your water tested, here's the areas you do. We put that out that the community would pay for that testing, and we really didn't see a lot of uptake on it.
Right.
But, you know, I go back to before the Green Energy Act. I wish it was in our jurisdiction where I could do peer reviews, where I could, not in belief, but in facts, deal with the issue that is in front of us. But unfortunately, we couldn't, because I'm not the one that says yes and no. Council is not the one that says no. And everybody says, well, Randy, you're the big, you know, wind guy. Yeah. No, I was following direction of council. See, the difference between a councillor and the mayor is when a decision is voted on and carried, no matter if I have a different opinion,
right,
I can't step aside from that direction that council is given.
Do you know what the vote was?
Well, I was like, I would say if there was 18 of us, I would say it was probably 15.
So you couldn't even be a tiebreaker or anything?
No, because I vote on everything the same as every other council. Okay. At the same time, I vote. And I'll give you a scenario. The Capitol Theatre, for instance, I heard a lot about that in the last couple of elections.
Yep.
But you know, the Capitol Theatre, I voted against putting that money in there.
Okay.
But the thing is, even though I voted no,
right,
the direction of council was yes.
Okay.
So I can't sit there and try to crucify it and beat it up and try to make it not work, because my mandate is directed by council as to the mandate of make it work, put the money in it, and make it successful. So I don't have the luxuries that a lot of the councillors have where I voted no. When you're the mayor, you vote at the same time, but the direction is the majority.
Now, you don't have to vote. You just,
no,
you just,
I have to vote.
Oh, you do have to vote.
All of our votes are tabulated.
Okay.
Every vote that we take is not, because at one time you would get people saying, well, I didn't really vote for that.
Right.
But now every recorded vote is there. So I vote the same time a councillor votes. I vote the same time. I don't make or break ties. I vote every time the same way.
Awesome. Hey guys, I think we've broken a record for viewers, especially at this time of day. So we're over 60. This is good stuff. Let's talk about emergency services. Okay, I hear a lot about emergency services, how we may not have enough ambulances in the middle of the night for the entire community. If something bad happens in 2 spots, we could be in trouble. Are you satisfied with our current level of EMS services in the community of Chatham-Kent, and what, if anything, can we do to improve that?
Well, first of all, am I satisfied? No. I mean, I believe that people, if I go back a bit, Before
Okay.
we even tendered this contract, I actually wanted that service brought back in-house, but I couldn't get the rest of the council.
Okay, so to put in perspective, the service is not in-house.
No, the service is contracted services. We
Okay.
have somebody else that provides the service for us.
Okay.
They're not our employees. We only pay the contract, and the service goes to them.
Okay.
And they manage the manpower, and put the service in the community.
And you wanted that in-house instead?
I wanted it brought
Okay.
in-house before we even went out for the new tender we have. And the reason why, I mean, I can justify everything, but the reason why is because I felt better controls and better management. Again, if you're going to have responsibility for such a critical service in our community, you need to bring it in-house. But there was some who said, no, we don't want that because we don't want to go to arbitration. We don't want the labor problems. We don't want this. We don't want that. Again, I have to go with the majority of council. So the service levels that we're got is that, I hear the same concerns that everybody else does. And what I think is really important is to make sure that we're not just throwing money out. We're actually making sure that we identify where the situations are and work with people to find solutions. It's not always about throwing money at my elbow to redeploy. See, we don't deploy the ambulance services. That's done by somebody else.
Okay.
And we need to make sure that we got a very good understanding before we start putting a lot of money. And I know people say, well, that takes time. Well, we want to do it right. The last thing you want to do is throw good money after a bad situation.
Okay.
You want to make sure. But the level of service, I hear from people, and I hear from the EMS workers, and I hear from another. Is it the best? No. Can it be improved? Yes. How is that going to be? I'm the mayor, and I want to listen to others to say, how can we fix this, who are in the fields, both the front line, the supplier, our own staff, to making sure that we are coming up with a comprehensive plan to make sure that the citizens of our community are best served.
Awesome. Hey guys, I think we just reached another record. You guys are really loving this. So I'm looking at my phone because I can't see over there, but we got a question from James Mason. What is to be done to eliminate the dysfunctional processes at Civic Center which is causing unnecessary red tape for event promoters, especially with public health unit who are anti-event, anti-business, so that's just his opinion apparently, and causing promoters to move events out of Chatham-Kent or not all, kind of like Firefest, which people have seen that is going to be ending that.
Well, I'm not going to get.
There was a lot of stuff.
I'm not going to get into the Firefest discussion because
Okay.
that's a much broader discussion that the whole facts aren't being brought out.
Okay.
Well, let me talk about the events because I have heard it. I've heard it, with the public health unit. I mean, unfortunately, there is provincial laws that people must uphold to. It's not necessarily us that's doing it. There's certain regulations and certain processes that need to be done because of public safety.
Right.
And we may think it's okay.
Okay.
But unfortunately, under the rules that are applied, it's not. Would I like it to be more simplified and clean and clear? Absolutely. Because we depend on the events that go on in our community, and we want to entice more.
Right.
But the thing is, somebody says, well, that bad building inspector or that bad public health unit inspector, they're looking at the rules that are applied to certain things when you do certain things.
Right.
I have to have bathrooms, I have to have, when I'm doing food preparation, I'm doing this. They're not trying to actually prevent it. They're just trying to make sure that we're complying with the rules, because the last thing you'd want is somebody actually to have food poisoning or something else that acts now as a risk or a liability to the person who is providing the event.
Okay. We got one from Pierre Rio. How do we eliminate duplicate positions at City Hall? Why hire students to do gardens, etc.? Charity groups would be happy to take on these kind of tasks. So how do we eliminate duplicate positions, if there is?
Well, there's really no duplicate positions. I mean,
Okay.
we do hire up in the summertime students
Okay.
to help pay with their education, to go to college and university. And like a good employer in any community, most companies do hire up during the summertime. To work on those specific tasks for a very specific period of time. But it also helps us to, deal with some of the vacations and other things because it's a work-life balance approach.
Right.
But I mean, I've always been one that's always been, even before I was mayor, in the workforce, in the workplaces that I represented, is to engage in, getting students in. Because it also helps them with their education, but it also helps them understand the field or course or profession that they want to get into later on.
Right.
You know, I wish there was more spaces so more people could, but unfortunately there isn't. But I don't believe that it's a duplication or, you know, two people work inside. It's almost like a mentoring, training, and also helping them get their monies to help pay for education.
Okay. Is the mayor in favor of a high-speed train, and if yes, where through Chatham-Kent?
Well, that's a whole philosophy. I've been a supporter of high-speed rail since 1990. So
Okay.
I don't know, the questioner's probably not even that old. But, you know, in 1990, I've been in favor of a high-speed rail system. You know, when people talk about high-speed rail, I don't think anybody's really going to move forward on it.
Anytime soon.
I don't think anybody, anytime before your life and your children.
Okay.
So, you
Will
know,
we have an arena before that?
yeah, actually. But you know, the thing is, when people talk about high-speed rail, they talk about agricultural land. When you build high-speed rail, you can't build it underground. If you've been to most countries, they build it in the air.
Okay.
And if you're going to build high-speed rail in Ontario, you have a corridor already established called the 401 corridor.
Right.
Why can't you build a high-speed rail over the 401 corridor?
Okay.
Because, you know, I'm hearing my colleagues from the Woodstock area, you know, taking prime agricultural land, you know, again, laying railroad tracks, you know, all that. But this is a prime location to put a high-speed rail to be built in the ground, above the ground, so that it can get from point A to point B in a very
Right.
fashionable time. But I'm losing. There was studies done in the 90s. There was studies done in 2000. There was studies done in 2010. And I mean, people are making a comment. I don't think it's realistic. I think what we need to do, to be more realistic, to deal with today's pressure, is to actually deal with making the train system more favorable and
Right.
feasible and more productive, and getting the current system maybe moving a little bit faster, maybe making it easier for persons with disabilities to get on the train.
Right.
I mean, I feel sorry for a person with limited abilities, mobilities, to get on a train because
Right.
it's not friendly.
No.
And we need to make sure that the system we got needs to be refined a bit more while we play around and look at the millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars it's going to cost for a high-speed rail system.
Okay, Dwayne Weaver, I voted for you last time. Why should I vote for you this time with some of the other fresher options this time? Okay, there was fresher options in the last election as well, because I helped out other people too. So, okay, I voted for you last time. Why should I vote for you again?
Because, first of all, it's leadership. I have a relationship working with federal and provincial governments and working with the business community. I mean, I'm actually bringing facts to the table. I mean, I've read some of my proponents' campaign slogans and really ask them to dig a little deeper into the substance. So let's talk about why should I vote for you? Well, you know, I've talked about in bypass at Charing Cross. It needs to happen in order for us to grow.
Okay.
We need to look at the official plan and we need to amend it so that we're growing in the right direction. When we amalgamate it, we just threw all of it together.
Right.
We need to look at each community, reposition the land so to maximize the infrastructure so we're not spending more money. So official plans need to be. We need a bypass around Wallsburg. We need a new arena. We need to work around community hubs. You talked about the buildings you wanted me to buy a courthouse.
Yeah.
I think it's neat.
Well, I don't want it. Somebody else
You need to
does.
look at the community hubs, and we need so that the services in those smaller communities stay intact, but they're more cost effective, and our capital costs and hydro and building and all that becomes reduced, but at the same time giving new lift
Right.
to services. So, you know, you ask why. I'm not going to be in a 4-year training program. I'm going to be hitting the road running, coming forward, moving it forward. And I mean, I've been dealing with it for 12 years. I just didn't wake up 6 months ago and realize I was going to run again.
Right. Okay. Now, you did touch on, somebody asked a question earlier about the Charing Cross
Yes.
turnoff. Now, obviously, everybody can agree that this should have been done years and years and
Should have
years
been.
ago, because it is very difficult if you want people to come into your community, especially just Chatham specifically, where you can spend some money. It's hard. All right. How do we go about that? And would you kind of would before that? How would we go about getting that done?
Well, number one, it's not about getting it done. We got to pay for it. The province has already told me. I'm trying to convince the province they need to pay for it.
Right.
But the thing is, it's not only a benefit to Chatham. This is a benefit to Charing Cross. This is a benefit to Erie-O. This is another alternative way. It's a benefit to the town of Blenheim.
Right.
So, but what it does, and I mean, I've heard from other retail outlets and other things saying, you know, we really like it out there. Costco, just an example. Costco says if that was there, I would be there tomorrow.
Right. Oh yeah.
Well, because they're big box. And what it does is, you're talking about gateways. It is actually a very attractive gateway. You know, we'll keep the trucks to the site, the Bloomfield and 40, but it is a gateway into a very pleasing setting of what Chatham-Kent is. So, you know, I ask people, you know, where would you build a new hospital tomorrow if you had to build a new hospital? Where would you put more retail? Where's your industrial park going to be? Everybody wants to be closer to the 401, yet we were growing that way.
Right.
And what I'm trying to say to people is we need to reposition ourselves through the official plan. Look at Charing Cross, look at the bypasses, and how that benefits not only the city, but benefits everybody else. Because if you drive the 401, you'll notice that there's growth all the way along.
Yeah.
Well, we seem to be missing. I get people that say, I missed the turnoff and I'm in Tilbury. They were coming from Toronto.
Yeah.
So they got turned around. So what it does is provide a better attraction into coming into a gateway into the community.
Okay, we got about 10 minutes left here. Let's go with Tim Nadishak. For 2 years, the Tilbury pool has been closed on Sundays. This makes little sense as families spend this day together. In my opinion, the aquatics recreation staff does not address the needs of the outlying communities.
Yes. So when it comes to those types of facilities, you notice we've been getting away from pools lately, and we've been dealing with splash pads, so more persons have the ability to do it. You know, pools and other things, we've got to find a better way to work with our other partners.
Right.
You know, why isn't it part of the school academic program? Like, you know, I think certain things, if we're talking such capital investments, we need to be more so as how do we just not do it alone? Mm-hmm. You know, and we know the dilemmas going on around the schools right now and everything else. We need to once I clear it up, we can put things together, and that's why I created the thing called Communities Leaders Cabinet. So we're dealing with the community as a whole. So the Community Leaders Cabinet consists of government, non-government, businesses, and it deals with the community strategy as how do we attract things? You know, I'm getting that even with schools and shop classes. You know, why aren't we having training, you know, to train more younger people in the trades and other things? So it is one thing that as we move forward, we need to bring other partners to the table so we maximize the investment we're making.
Okay. All right, we got Craig McNeil here. He asked this question to everybody, so you're getting hit with it. Plastic reduction bylaws, would you before or consider anything like that? Because, you know, plastic straws or whatever and everything, people anti-plastic. And do you use bottled water yourself, or do you use from a tap most often?
I use our tap water. We get the best tap water around. A lot of us, you know, we started off with bottled water, and I think you're seeing more and more people. We're trying to entice more and more people to use alternatives to store their water.
Yeah.
I mean, it is something that we need to seriously take. Actually, I'm looking at a company in China that actually deals with it's not only the straws, it's also the plastic bags.
Right.
Those plastic bags can be used anywhere in recycling.
Okay.
Okay. So there is a way, there is technology out there, and we've been trying to lure that technology to us, is to take those things so they squeeze a lot of them and do some other stuff that could actually be utilized, so it can actually be utilized later on.
Right.
So, but you know, the question is, and I belong to the Great Lakes Cities Initiative, you know, we are dealing with the whole issue of dispensing of drugs, and people flush down their toilets, straws and other contaminants that go into our water systems. So, you know, my understanding is the feds in the province are working on stuff like that, and I'm waiting to see as they move forward. But we are trying to entice people to get away from bottled water and to utilize alternatives, whether it's in a cup.
Right.
I prefer drinking right from my tap.
Yep.
Because it's great water that we have here in Chatham.
Okay, we got Quentin Solomon. Have you ever heard of public-private partnerships? We live in a very giving community where your fresh approach is to funding, stop relying on big government. So stop relying on bigger government. Evidently, it hasn't worked. So what can we do about public-private partnerships?
Yes, we're actually going down that road.
Okay.
So when you look at private partnerships, we're working with companies. One is on the Navistar property, and we're working at a few other companies, pieces of land that we're looking at private partnerships. It's called the 3P. So there is a little bit of government involvement, but we are looking at the 3P program in order to help mobilize and move us forward.
Yeah. Okay, so we got, so here's a controversial issue and way to tackle it. So we got the condos and everybody can agree that they've been taking forever to build, okay? Now there's nothing I think anybody can do about a private company doing whatever they want type thing.
Right.
But what can we do in the future with large projects that do restrict roads and sidewalks in areas like downtown? I think that's the best way to ask that
Well,
question.
first of all, I'm appreciative of Victor and his patience. He's had a lot of trades issues, and speak to any company around here. They're all facing trades issues. I mean, they're making the money in Toronto and the GTA. How many times you don't see a lot of cranes going up around Chatham Kent. So having the trades come here has been extremely difficult.
Okay.
And then having competent trades do, when you're the owner, a private owner of something, you want to make sure it's a marquee.
Right.
It's going to be the best. I'm like most people, I'm sad that it's taken as long as it had, and I'm sure he's sad that it's taken as long as it has. But I think the thing is that where's the balance between governance and private sector investment? And we've been managing through this, but when it's done, it's going to add so many more people in the downtown, supporting our small business, supporting our restaurants. It's unfortunate it's taken this long. Just as and I've talked to Victor about it. We got to get this done. Got to get this done. And he keeps telling me about challenges, about trades, about a number of other things. And I'm actually surprised he hasn't picked up and left me with an empty building there. Then we'd be in a worse situation.
Yeah.
So I'm very cautious when we talk about applying rules.
Right.
But we got to make sure that we work with investors so they don't feel like we're beating them up. We welcome their dollars coming. We welcome their investment. You heard earlier, somebody was talking about geared income housing or adequate housing and apartments and stuff like that. We don't want to always be the ones playing that game. We want to work with private sector to make those investments in our community.
Right.
Pay property taxes.
So when you guys are looking at me, I'm looking down because I can't see the phone over here, so I got to look here. Let's talk about the rail line. I have a great idea. I think it's awesome, the Great Ontario Marathon Trail, because it's 26.2 miles. But let's go deeper into the rail line. We purchased the rail line a while ago. Obviously, there was had to be some information on good plans or good potential, good possible payoff. Yeah. And now we have it, and it's not doing anything. So let's start from the beginning. Why did we buy it, and what was the potential when we did buy it? What kind of information did we have?
So the process under the decommissioning of rail lines is much different than are you buying it or aren't you buying it?
Okay.
Okay, so we went to CSX put the rail line up and to decommission. They actually wanted to rip it out. And we knew the value it played to Tupperville, to Dresden, to Waldsburg, and the corridor that it had there. Plus, we believe it was a national transportation corridor between Sarnia and Windsor.
Right.
So when the CSX decommissions it, they go through their own rail line companies, but then they go to municipalities. If we say no, they're allowed to rip it up.
Okay.
So we said there was an intent to purchase. But we didn't like the price. We believe they were asking too much. And then we went to the tribunal. And the tribunal charges more than what you were asking for.
Right.
And then, so we were working with the companies that were on the utilizing the rail line before to make sure that, let's face it, agriculture is a $3 billion industry.
Right.
Moving product by bulk is much more sense than by truck.
Right.
So we work with those industries. So the investment we have made in the rail line doesn't go to waste. There's the land, there's the steel, there's, the aggregate that is there. We'll get a return on our money. So it wasn't that we spend money and going to lose money. It's spend money to hold an investment so that we could get a return. Now we've realized that we can't go any further. So now we're doing a strategic divestment.
Okay.
Which means it's not a fire sale, so that way you don't get taken to the cleaners. You know how everybody says 75% off and everybody rushes your door?
Yes.
Well, we don't want to do that.
Unless you guys want to sell a house with me, 75% off, I'll sell it.
But the thing is that, what we're trying to do is actually do it very strategic and divested. The plans that you talked to me about and others have talked about is something that will lead into a discussion as to what does the future use look like?
Right.
Is it a trail? Is it something else? Is it a utility corridor? Is it, do we keep the Black Bridge? Do we do a number of other things? Those are discussions that we want to have once we realize that the investment has occurred.
Right.
So there's no sense getting too far ahead of the system. But I've heard every idea from historical train running from Chatham to Dresden to Wallsburg as another alternative transportation corridor. But I want to make it clear, nobody did this to waste money.
Right.
We did it to hold investment, to look at other investment opportunities. Because one thing we're getting from companies that are looking at locating, proximity to roads and rail. And that corridor is an essential part of connection to the U.S. market, both going to Sarnia and going to Windsor. So it wasn't something we took lightly, because you've seen what happened in Tilbury, the rails all ripped up, or Richtown, the rails all ripped up. When we rip something up like that, we lose an opportunity to compete for businesses that may be interested in those key factors. Because one thing we do have on our side is 401,
Right.
where we need that rail alternative transportation network system to support businesses.
So would you support a Great Ontario Marathon Trail?
We'll talk about it later.
We'll talk about it later. Okay, so we're going to be wrapping up in the next 5 minutes here. What do you see, what do you want to accomplish in the next 4 years? Say you get back in as the mayor, that'll be 16, would it be 16 years? Or would it be 4 terms, 16 years? What would you hope to see in the next 4 years? What's your goals?
I mean, first of all, is continue to build on the recent announcement we did at White's Pickles. That was a milestone announcement we made with them. Food processing coming back into this area.
Okay. And that's in Wallsburg?
That's in Wallsburg.
Okay.
And I want to continue that food processing added value, because there's a lot of countries out there that envy Canadian food. So I want to continue to move that. The other part that I wanted to do was talk about the Charing Cross. I still believe it's a priority, and I think we're in a better position now than we've ever been. I want to build a new arena and redevelop the Navistar site to be a centers of entertainment and a venue opportunity, so that newcomers coming to the community, plus our own people, will have a geographic area that they can enjoy. The other area is a bypass around Wallsburg that needs to happen. The other part is that I need to deal with the official plan and the Hydro One service territories, because we need to change our boundaries in order for us to move us closer to 401. I always said to people, we got links at Kent right here in Indian Creek Road. Wouldn't it be nice to have some housing? Well, we can't build housing there because the other side of it's agriculture.
Right.
So we need to reposition so that we become more of an attraction for people to move and to move here. Our population has gone up from 101, we're almost about 106,000 people. And
Still need more. Still need more.
Oh, you're definitely right. But the thing is, everybody says, no jobs and our population is decreasing. And well, if it is, why are we opening up all these subdivisions? Why is it so hard to find houses in the marketplace? So there's a number of variables. You don't have to take my word for it.
Right.
Just look around. But I think as we move forward, there's that areas. I think there's improvements we need on communication. I also believe that the area of smaller communities, Wallsburg Southside redevelopment project. I look at Richtown and land redevelopment there that needs to occur. I look at Bothwell and the land redevelopment that needs to occur there. Thamesville with the agricultural base that it is, we need to do more around that. Tilbury, right there on the 401, we need to do more. And now that we got our financial house in order and we've got our strategies done and we're moving on to greenhouse initiatives, it just allows us the right time. So you're saying, what is there to do? I have a list of stuff that I've been waiting to get at, but unfortunately it takes the voters, and I am asking for voters to reconsider, because it is about leadership. I take a lot of flack. Some people don't like the decisions I make, but I could go on about others. You say, what are some of the downfalls of the last one? Corngate was a pain.
Okay, what was corn?
Where we lost the corn mural and I got thrown in the garbage, okay? I call it Corngate, which took up a lot of time. But I think as a council we need to be really focused on the big picture. The mayor's job isn't to deal with the potholes in your road. That's the council's. The mayor needs to continue to mobilize, provincially, federally, large municipalities, working with all the municipalities. And we need to be in the front and center of investment coming in, and we need to have a welcoming mat out to bring things here.
Right.
So, I want to encourage, because one of the unique features we have You talked about it earlier, is the amount of events that we have going on in all of our communities. They're fantastic events. We need to draw more people to our community so we can flourish on that.
Awesome stuff. Okay, and one last question. And this is from small business owners and people looking to hire people, because there is a lot of jobs. Okay, there is a lot of jobs available in Chatham-Kent. So there is jobs, people wanting to hire, but the skilled worker is not there.
That's right.
What can we do to educate more people so that they can fill the positions that people are wanting them to fill?
I want to build a trade center here.
A trade center.
Yeah, so it's a training center. So
Okay.
I'm going back on the model we established back when we did the Burgess Center in Wallsburg. It was
Okay.
a tool and die industry, needed people. We created that industry and it helped flourish. A trades education center is what we need. I'm hearing it from the Home Builders Association. I'm hearing it from other construction groups. I'm hearing it from the industries that are here, electricians and certain trades. We need to bring that trade center and build it here. It's been a desire of mine since 1988 when skills development and Kitech were there. I want to work with the community college. I want to work with them. We need to build that centers of excellence on trades. We just did it. So the Power Lines program is one of those ones.
Okay.
We are in the National Training Center for the Power Lines.
And that's what you see going out Bear Line,
Bear
all the
Line.
poles up. Okay.
But I think we can do more with the college in making sure that we become the centers of excellence dealing with this trade specifics so that we can support the local industry at the same time training people on higher standards.
And that also gets people wanting to come here to get educated.
Correct, absolutely.
Awesome. Well, Randy, anything else you want to say, or?
No, all I want to say is, Ben, I just hope, when people ask for change, be careful what you ask for. We've seen that happen on the U.S. side, where people wanted change and they got their change with Trump. I'm just asking people, I know I may not have always pleased people in the decisions I've made, but I take a leadership role. I make sure that I make sound, informed decisions on what I do. I just don't pick up my paperwork and read it. I'm heavily engaged in what goes on both municipally, in our municipality, provincially, federally, and internationally. And I think it's so essential that you need to have that. And all I'm asking is that if there was somebody that really has an interest in becoming mayor, that they should be up not 6 months before an election. You need to gauge, because there's so much. The next 4 years can't be a training rep.
Okay.
The next years are so critical. New provincial government, municipal election, and a federal election coming down. We can't sit back for 3 years. We have a lot to do in a short period of time to get it done. So on October 22nd and before the advance polls, I'm just asking people for their support again. I'd appreciate it.
Awesome, and hopefully you'll come back on and answer more questions mid-campaign, if that's good.
If we can work it out, how we had a hard time getting this.
It was very tough getting this together, but we're here and we're at the Dutch Market and it's awesome. So Randy, thank you for coming on. Hey, thank everybody for watching and your comments, and maybe you'll get to some of these comments after and type in some answers if you can. And hey guys, thank you very much. Thanks to the Dutch Market and everybody who's hitting the share button, like button, commenting, and waving. Perfect, and have a great day.